Welcome everyone once again to the Spanish Breakfast Show live on YouTube Spain. I'm Skatz, and in today's show I'll be talking to our regular expert in Spain, Chris from Upsticks in Malaga, all about the non-lucrative visa. Now, it's been a few months since we did 4 comprehensive videos all about this, but the first one is a little bit out of date because Brexit had only just happened. So today we're going to explain once again the basics of that visa and give you the latest up-to-date information and developments. As usual, you can ask your questions live right now in the chat box, or if you're not watching live, in the comments below. Either way, we'll get you the answers. And once again, my lovely wife Liz is looking in on the chat under the name U2 Aromatherapy today, so she'll be keeping an eye on the questions in case I miss any and giving you the benefit of her wisdom too. Some of you have already asked questions on the Facebook groups. Thank you for that. And I'll be giving everyone who did that a mention and answering them as we talk through the subject. And by the way, you can support this channel by getting one of the hoodies, which I'm not wearing today because it's blazing sunshine here in Ireland and far too hot. And the merchandise page is in the video description below. So without further ado, let's meet my guest for the day. Once again, it's Chris from Upsticks. Good morning, Chris.
Morning.
So thanks once again for your time. As always, it's a pleasure. So
you're welcome. How you doing? So I'm not in my usual place this morning. My apologies.
Yeah, that's all right. Has your holiday started already?
No, not yet. No, not yet. No, just a long weekend. So away. So that's good.
Lovely.
In sunny Almuñeca.
Almuñeca, yeah, it looks like a nice place.
Yeah.
So let's get on. So the basics for anyone who's new to Spanish visas. Let's give the basics. What is the non-lucrative visa and who needs to get one?
So non-lucrative visa for Brits who intend to retire in Spain and not work in Spain, and they want to come and live here, they'll now need a non-lucrative visa. The non-lucrative visa is allows you to stay initially for 1 year. You then renew it for 2 years, a further 2 years, and then after 5 years, you get your residency. You can apply for the non-lucrative visa in either London, Manchester, or Edinburgh, depending on where you live in the UK. And there's some basic requirements, which we'll probably dig deep into, won't we, in further videos. But basically, you have to have, there's basic monetary requirements, which are a lot higher now that we're outside the EU. Healthcare requirements and documentation you have to put in place, and then other documents which relate to your personal self, like criminal record certificates and birth, marriage certificates where applicable, which all have to be presented in various forms of legalizations and translations.
Brilliant. So I should just say that this isn't just for Brits, this is for anybody who's outside the EU. So
yes, sorry, anybody who's outside the EU.
Brilliant. So should we go straight on to the money? People have been talking about how much money you need to be eligible, and it's all to do with this magic word EPREM. So what does it mean? Yeah, how does it relate to the visa?
Yes, so EPREM is a system in Spain which you could call it it's like a minimum wage type system, shall we say, and it's it's how they judge how much you need to get residency in Spain. So for example, for an EU residency application, here in Andalucia, now I have to say, in other areas of Spain, this does vary. So I've heard that in Alicante, they actually ask for 1.5 times EPREM for EU. But here, certainly in Andalucia, they ask that if you're going for an EU residency application, that you've got 100% or you've maintained that income over 6 months, or you've got 5 times that amount to get you to the 5-year residency period in a fixed deposit in an account. In terms of a visa now, because it's 4 times that amount for the initial applicant. So when you're applying for a visa, you have to show that you've got 27,115 euros, or that you earn in pensions or other forms of income 27,115 euros for the first year. Each applicant who is related, shall we say, to the initial applicant, so it's a couple, you don't double that. It just goes up by 100%. So if it's a married couple, they would have the initial base of 27,115, and then that would go up by 100% EPREM, which is taken to around 34,000. And then if there's 3, so maybe there's a couple and a child, that keeps going up on that gradual scale.
Yeah, by another sort of nearly 7,000, isn't it, each time?
Yeah, if you would call it 7, I would round up at 7,000. What you've got to remember as well is that's a base. What we're talking about. It's not that, if you go with that exact amount in the bank, then they might look at it and be like, hey a minute, it's always better to have more if you've got it there than less. So EPREM is the base of how they calculate how much money you need to qualify for the visa.
Okay, so and this of course is a non-lucrative visa, so you're not allowed to actually be earning. So by income, what can that amount include? It's got to be passive income, hasn't it?
Yeah, so I mean, you can't be earning a non-lucrative visa. There's been a big hoo-ha about remote workers and stuff like that, but they've been pretty clear now that non-lucrative visa, all intents and purposes, is for people who are coming to Spain to retire. So most people, when they get to the stage that they are retiring in Spain, probably would have accumulated those kind of savings anyway. That's our experience, but you'll find that people do sort of have that in savings because they're at the end of their working life, or they've accumulated a pension, or maybe they're getting income from other sources. Maybe if they own a company, for example, and they're not going to be working, but they're taking dividends for a company, for example, that is viable if you're not going to be working. But what you can't particularly do is take a wage and remote work. That's it there. And so yeah. Basically, it is a retirement visa in all sense of the word.
Good. And that's covered the next question I was going to ask about remote working, but yeah, and we've covered it on other videos, and I did one very short video which just says no, you can't do it. So there we go.
I saw that. I mean, there's the thing is, there's some people who have. I've seen a few blogs and listened to a few podcasts where people have actually been remote working on a non-lucrative visa, but they haven't used that as part of their visa application or renewal. So unless the government has stumbled across it, they'd have no reason to think they were remote working. I'm not suggesting by all means that's a way to do it, but I'm saying that's but you can't. No, it's a non-lucrative. It's in the details in the wording.
Yeah. Okay, let's go through the application process then. So there's a few people have been asking questions actually, so I'll go on to them. Let's just get them up on screen so we can say thank you to them. Let's see. Hi, Alexis Baines. I would like to know exactly what it is I need to apply to become a resident, please, and can I apply while still in the UK? And other people, I think Kelly Davidson and Jane Owen, they're all asking, yes, where do you apply? What's the process?
So you have to apply in the UK, and the process is that you book an appointment with the consulate, your local consulate. So on the consulate page, there's information on, depending on where you live, where you have to go. And then at the appointment, you have to present the requirements that they ask you for. Once you've presented those requirements, then if they accept them, then normally you will hear back after around 3 weeks whether your visa has been approved. And in the case of London, for example, you have to go and pick up your visa, or if you're a family, one person goes with all the passports as long as they've got permission. And Manchester and Edinburgh will allow you to leave a self-addressed envelope and actually send your visa to you in the passport. It means you obviously have to leave your passport with them while you're waiting. So yeah, that's the basic process of what you need to do. Once you've got your visa, then you've got 90 days to get into Spain, and then once you're in Spain, you've got 30 days to register with the National Police your TIE card, which I believe was a question as well you had there, wasn't it? We were discussing earlier.
Yes, yeah. Should we answer that one now? Let's get that back on screen. There was Daz Field Hats. He says it's worth covering what happens next, because some people sit back after they've got their non-lucrative visa and once they're in Spain, and then they don't realise they have to do other things like getting your Padron and getting your TIE. So yes, let's answer that one.
That's right. Yeah. So you have to register yourself when you get here. Now, you've got 30 days, but it's not always possible to complete everything in 30 days. when they say 30 days here in Spain, administratively, as long as you booked the appointment within that period, even if the appointment's given for, say, 6 weeks afterwards, then you're fine. But the date must say on the appointment booking that you booked it within the 30 days. When you do go to the National Police, they'll ask you for various documents. Very interesting one, it's probably good advice for the viewers, is that, as we're all aware, you need a stamp in your passport now when you come in, or they do stamp your passport when you come in through an airport. But I've had two now recently where people have come through the tunnel driving and haven't actually been stamped on the way in, but when you get here, the police ask to see the stamp on the passport to start your visa, to start the TIE. So if you are driving over to Spain and you have got a non-lucrative visa, it'd be a good idea to request a stamp in your passport when you cross the border, because it makes the stage 2 process slightly easier. So it's not a problem, because you can use travel documents to prove when you entered, but it's always better to have a stamp. The police, it's very, very, very similar, the stage 2 process of a visa, to what the withdrawal agreement people have been going through. Even like myself, when I exchanged my green EU card for a TIE, we have to go and do this appointment called a toma de huella, which is you literally take your fingerprints, and but you do have to do that. You can't just sit back on your visa.
Right. Actually,
sorry, just about the padron there. Sorry, remember about the padron. The padron is your proof of address. Now, when the immigration authorities register you for your visa, and if it's the first time you've ever registered for residency in Spain, then they'll award you with an NIE number, and your registration goes on a database. So when you go to do your TIE card, the police check all your details and they'll bring you up on a database. Now, you may already have an address assigned on that database, in which case they may just turn around and say, can you just confirm this is your address? And as long as that address matches up with what you've got on your application form, then there shouldn't be any need for a padron. But when your address, say for example you've been using an office address of somebody, or just an address in Spain as a contact address, and then you've come over and you've rented somewhere, you've bought somewhere, and that's different to the address that you initially used at the consulate, in that means you're going to need a padron to prove where you're going to live and what the address is.
Okay, I've got a question on here. I'm going to put my glasses on, from Lisa Garner regarding medical insurance. You obviously need that, but do they insist patriotic insurance, or does that mean Spanish?
Repatriation insurance.
Oh, repatriation.
At the moment, no. And I know this comes from because other consulates around the world do request it. So I know I've certainly heard that in like the United States, they request repatriation insurance. So if something happens to you in Spain, you get repatriated. At the moment in the UK, no, they're not asking for it. Though we did have a change in the insurance requirements recently, whereas I'm not too sure if you're aware how like insurance works here. That about 80% of the companies who provide insurance policies in Spain work on an annually renewable basis, whereas they'll give you a contract until the end of the year, and then it gets renewed, annually on the 1st of January, and you get a certificate when you take out the policy which proves so. That's always been fine. It's always been fine up till now, and still seems to be fine in London at the moment. But Manchester and Edinburgh, more so Manchester, are insisting that you have a policy for a year. Mm-hmm. So it narrows down the companies that you can use, and because I think, actually, I don't want to mention the names, but there's only about 2 or 3 which actually do a policy which starts and lasts for a year and renews after that year. So most companies are annually renewable. But so yeah, so what we're telling people at the moment is it's best just to get, if you're using private health insurance, just to get a year. Make sure you've got a policy which is for a full year.
That leads us on quite nicely, actually, to the S1. I think we should mention this. You made a video on your own YouTube site about this actually yesterday. to cover it. So I think we'll just cover it briefly because Rochelle DeWitt, how do you pronounce your name, Rochelle? She's actually on in the chat at the moment. So good morning, Rochelle, and she's coming on the show in a few weeks' time as well. Any experiences of S1s being accepted as proof of healthcare for the non-lucrative visa?
Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? Yeah, I did a video yesterday, and it was prompted by something I saw you highlighted, where somebody, up till now, S1s have been, no, you can't use an S1. Then I actually saw you're a lot more active on Facebook than me, that you'd put a note that somebody had been accepted for an S1. And so I posed the question to Manchester, and I'd already had the same answer from Edinburgh, but through a third source. And they replied pretty quickly. Now, what they said was, and this is now what we could apply to applications going through Manchester, is an S1's fine as long as it's been registered with Social Security in Spain. So, and then when you register an S1 with Social Security in Spain, you get a document which proves you've got access to healthcare. So what they're saying is, as long as you're covered when you land, you're absolutely fine. The problem is, evidently, if you don't live here, you've got no padron and no residency and no NIE, how are you going to register an S1 with a Social Security in Spain? You can't. So all intents and purposes, rock it up in Manchester or Edinburgh with just an S1, which incidentally they have to send to Spain, so you'd have to go to get it sent to Spain and get someone to send it back to you, isn't going to work. But then on the video that I did yesterday, we had one reply which you just drew my attention to, which actually someone said yes, they just rocked up in London with an S1 and it got accepted and they received their visa. So I have to say, we haven't, out of all of our clients, we haven't done any applications where that's been the case yet. And but we certainly have a few coming up which people have access to, could get an S1 but already have healthcare. So we will see if they want to go along and take that S1 and ask the question as well. So we'll investigate further. But
yeah,
I'm sure after this video as well.
Yeah, we'll have some, because Rochelle is saying, but that's impossible. You can't get the registered without actually being there, and you can't get there without the visa. So, yeah.
Exactly. I'll tell you what, I'm quite happy to, I'll share with you the email that the Manchester Consulate sent me. And quite happy for you to share that.
Like in the comments. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
We had a question from Josie, wasn't it? That Liz has pointed out. I've missed that one. Once you have residency, do you have to live in Spain constantly, or can you spend equal time in UK and Spain?
You have to spend more time in Spain to maintain the residence.
Okay. And is it something like you've got to be there for 5 months in that first year?
No, more than 183 days, more than 6 months. You have to be more time in Spain.
Oh yeah, no, actually, I got it the wrong way around. You can't go away for more than 5 months.
Yeah, that's why in theory, and again, as you say, at Upsticks we don't deal with taxes, but if you're going to get a non-lucrative visa, you by default become a fiscal resident here. So it's always a good idea to speak to somebody about that as well. You know, so because you will spend more time in Spain than in the UK.
Let's just see if we have any more questions I haven't answered yet on there. Oh, this is an interesting one. What are some questions you are asked at the application appointment, and how long is the appointment? And actually, I'd missed out one of my questions, which is what documents do you need? And apostilling and translating, does that all fit into the same category of what happens at the appointment?
Yeah, so the appointment lasts around, it's not too long, you know, it lasts around, it's more of a verification of the documents, you know, it's they'll first thing they'll do is, do you want to go through the requirements? That brings us on to what they're going to ask you, doesn't it, really?
Yes.
So they're going to ask you for the various application forms that you need filled out correctly. There's also a tax form that you have to fill out and take with you. You'll have to take your proof of healthcare, which we've covered, either private or apparently S1 if you've pre-registered, which is impossible in Spain before. So you have to take a letter from a GP, or a lot of people are having problems with the GP, so they just go to a private clinic, which seem to be able to do it very quickly for a few quid. proving you're going to exportable illnesses, and each consulate provides you with a template on how they want to see it, and they're very strict on the wording, so be aware of that. Obviously, you've got to take proof of your income and or money or savings, or however you're proving you're economically viable for a visa.
So that's proof of pension or bank statements and things like that.
Bank statements, proof of pension. So if you've got money in the bank statements will advise to take 6 months. Again, you need to get those stamped. I know in the UK that's sometimes an impossibility, but that's what they request, that the bank statements are stamped. Places like London don't request many translations for the proof of income, whereas Edinburgh seems to want you to translate everything that you take with you. So it really depends on where you're going to what translations are required for that. Manchester don't seem to be requesting any form of translations for your income, though, to be honest, if you've got a lot of people who've got pensions coming in, normally have a 1-page annual summary of what they're earning, whether it's a private pension, and obviously they come in various shapes and forms, but I would always advise, for the price and how hard it is to get all your documents together and get that appointment, if you've got a pension and you've got a 1-page summary of what you're going to be paid, annually, then I'd get that translated anyway. Stick it in your translation pile, so it'd be foolish to get that far of it done. Criminal records checks. So you need a criminal records check, ACRO. That does need to have the apostille and translation. And then
where do you get that from?
Criminal records check, you can get that from the website, the ACRO website. So basically they'll send that to you. There's a link. I've actually got an article on our website which I can share, which gives you all the information on how to get that. And the legalization, which is the apostille stamp. It's actually a sticker with a dry stamp on the back of it, and it's very important that you do that through the government website and get the original document, with the apostille on the back of it. Don't go to a notary or get them to verify a document, then get that verification with an apostille. Just doesn't work. We've had clients which have done that and doesn't work. To be fair, the consulate were very good. They said, this doesn't work for us, but you've got 10 days to return with the docs that do, which is very hard to do, but they managed to do it, and they did. So, which brings me on to marriage and birth certificates. So say, for example, you've got a main applicant, or you want to apply the discount for a married couple in terms of the economic means, then you would need to produce a marriage certificate. Again, that would need to be legalized and translated. And children under 21 need to have birth certificates translated and have the legalization on it as well.
So that's the only thing that you don't need. The only thing you don't need translated really is the bank statement.
Yeah. Again, you don't need. Though we did have one in Edinburgh, which 2, in fact, which what we did was we translated. We didn't translate every single page, but we did translate. The first page of a British bank statement generally has the start and end balance for the month.
Oh yeah.
And the verification who it is. We've done this a lot here as well in Spain. It seems to be something that immigration like. Whereas obviously realms and realms and realms of translating of numbers, is pretty useless. But if on a British bank statement, that first page, if you translate the that first page and it shows the person who owns the account and the start and end balance each month, that seems to be universally accepted. So we have been doing that a bit.
Great stuff. Let's move to some of the questions. Is that all of the documents then? Have we covered that?
That's a brief overview, yeah.
Okay. Let's get on to some of the questions then from the Facebook pages, from the net. Here we go. We've had Rochelle's question. From Deborah Locke here. We'd like to know if you're able to work in the UK up to the point you leave the UK for Spain, or do you need to be fully retired by the time of your appointment?
That's a very good question. Yeah, so we've had applications go through Manchester with people who were still working at the time of actually doing the application, but had sufficient funds in the bank to qualify, and they didn't have a problem. In Edinburgh, we've had cases where they have actually requested to see, they've seen people have worked, and they've requested to see that they're not been working anymore, and they've had to have a document translated which proves that they've retired. And in London, again, we've had people who have been working up to the point of their application and not had a problem. It's shown wages in their bank, and they haven't requested to see that, you know, that they're not working at the moment. That said, big disclaimer, you know,
Yeah.
everybody's case is slightly different. You know, there isn't a black and white framework. There is a framework to what you have to present, but ultimately, and this goes back to what we were saying before about what they're going to ask you, is they'll ask you the questions depending on your circumstance. You know, so they'll look at it and they may see somebody who's slightly younger. Maybe they feel that they don't have enough to retire, and then they'll ask them the question, well, we want proof that you're not working, because they don't want to give you a retirement visa and then think that you're going to come over to Spain and actually be working to maintain yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so whereas maybe somebody who, you know, is older, who has retired at their end of their working life, and it's quite evident they're at the end of their working life, you know, and they've got their savings and a small pension, they're quite obviously not going to ask them to prove that they're not working. So each case is dealt with on an individual basis, depending on what they see with the paperwork you present.
Right. So let's just cover the rest of these ones on this screen. A lot of them, thank you, Jane Owen, for your question. I think we've already covered the cost to apply, where you apply. Linda Rogers says, if you need to do for your year 2 and 3, your renewal, do you have to come back to the UK to do it?
No.
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 That's an easy
No.
one.
No.
Everything's in Spain after you get there, but you have to apply in the UK to begin with.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh yeah, 2 people care. Casey Delarumnall and Tracy Dumbleton. This is a question I'm not sure we can answer, but what's happening with the London Consulate? Why are they not answering the phone or emails at the moment? They don't seem to be giving out appointments.
Oof, answers on a postcard. I don't know. Radio silence at the moment from London. It is either they're completely overwhelmed by emails, or they're just not going into work. I don't know. It has been terrible. There was absolutely in a great flow up till around a month ago, more or less issuing appointments and answering emails and even requesting further documents via email. And at the moment, the beginning of July, there's been pretty much radio silence from them on all fronts, and I've seen a lot of that on Facebook as well. We did actually have someone go and visit the consulate just to ask politely if there was any updates, and just to make sure it hadn't burned down.
Yeah.
And they were just told, referred back to the email, and that was it. I mean, the one thing is, it's obviously, if you have made a request for an appointment, you can see that your email's been received, because you get an automatic response, you know. But at the moment, it seems that they issued more an extra day for appointments, so it's now Tuesdays and Fridays. But at the moment, there seems to be a massive backlog in London.
Right. Let's see. I think we've covered everybody. I'll just make sure I've mentioned Kelly Davidson. Can they? Oh no, that one's already been covered. Good. Yes. So anyway, thank you for all your questions. It's come up to 10 o'clock. So is there anything else we need to mention that's an update on anything we've said before?
No, I think we just about covered it there. I think probably moving forward, we'll do. I think we've done a general overview there, but we could actually probably revisit stuff, you know, like the healthcare and the monetary requirements in more depth. You know, probably. So that general overview is great, but with the experience that we've got now, and obviously other people's experiences as well, that, you know, stuff. It's great for them people to share their experience as well, on your feed. So maybe we could go in more depth into the monetary side of things, the healthcare, and stuff like that.
Just just looking. Rochelle said, "My question, please." Which question? What about? Oh, what about London not accepting policy with a wait period of 6 months before you can claim? Have we heard about that?
What,
Is that health policy?
I don't know. What do you mean by that?
That was in relation to something we were talking about before. Can you just clarify that for us, Rochelle, while we're asking for more questions and rounding up? Ask me the question again. Sorry, I missed that question. Normally, Chris would be saying, what shall we talk about in 2 weeks' time? But you're off on holiday soon, so it's going to be a whole
I
month
am.
before we
I
see you
am.
again.
Yep. So it'll be a month.
I have one question for you. Where do people go on holiday who live in the sunshine already?
Well, believe it or not, this year we're going to a place called Roquetas in Almeria, because it's very touristy and it's very reasonably priced, and it seems to be a hotbed for all-inclusive hotels which accommodate children. So I have a 7 and a 4-year-old now. So the 4-year-old is now at mini club age. That sounds like I'm trying to get rid of them on holiday, but it's just one of those where it's going to be the first ever holiday, believe it or not, that we've ever been on holiday, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So we've actually, because we live here, we've never actually been to a hotel and done the whole mini club stroke week in a hotel thing. So that's because my daughter's that age now. That's what we're going to do.
Good stuff. Okay, we've got a reply from Rochelle. She's saying, yes, it's about the health policy, whether you're covered for health. There's a wait period before you can claim. Some insurance have 3 months, some over 6 months. One of the insurance companies I work with said that London doesn't accept any wait period.
Wait period.
So you need to. She's saying whether you're actually covered from day one on the policy. Some policies say you can't
right.
claim.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I'm being stupid there. That was probably
That's okay.
the extra glass of vino tinto I had last night there. Blowing my mind. So yeah, no. So the policy. This is a very, very good question actually. When they ask you for your expected date of travel, there's a box on the application form that says expected date of travel into Spain. Your policy must be active at that point. Yeah, so you must be covered for healthcare when you land in Spain. They don't want you to at any point become a burden on the system. As I said before, it's best if you have a full year paid as well. And we always advise that when you go to the appointment, that you take your certificate from your health care provider. Okay, so they normally nowadays, when Brexit kicked off, most companies actually produced products which met the residency requirements. Okay, so before that it was a bit of a mess. You always lots and lots of different bits of paper in the police and trying to prove what it. Nowadays most companies have a policy which meets the residency requirements and provides you with a certificate which actually stipulates that. And we always tell people to go with that certificate. Short terms and conditions. Most people will provide you with like an 8 to 12 page dossier of the terms and conditions. They normally come a long one, which is about 50 pages long, but there's always a short one. And also proof of the payment of the policy. So if you turn up to an appointment, your expected travel date is the 1st of October, and you've got a policy which you've paid, it starts on the 1st of October, and you've got the short terms and conditions, you won't have a problem.
Yeah, cool. That's something we can cover all in more detail on another video, I think, which is great.
Yes, yeah. Yep.
So we'll wind up for the day and let you prepare for your holiday. It's only 12 weeks to go, and I'll be with you there in Malaga province, and it'll be like a holiday for me anyway to begin with. So,
yes, yeah, it is. Yes, yeah, it will be. For the start, I don't know, 20 years, and sometimes I still pinch myself. So
excellent. So everybody say goodbye to Chris for now. Thank you very much for today, and we'll see you soon. Here we go. There. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching. If you have any more questions, then please do pop them in the comments below the video. And if you've gained some insights from this video, then do click on the thumbs up. Next week on U2 Spain, I'll be talking to Stephen Proctor again. If you remember last time we talked about running a B&B in Spain, which was a brilliant interview. So he's back by popular demand, and this time he'll be giving us his perspective on being self-employed in Spain. Join us for that next Saturday at the usual time of 10:30 a.m. if you're in Spain, 9:30 if you're in the UK. And don't forget to check out our Liz and Skatz channel. We broadcast live on Wednesday evenings, usually, about our journey to move to Spain. So that's, as we get closer to the time, that's going to heat up, and we're going to be doing a lot more on there. And also check out U2 Yoga and U2 Aromatherapy, both of Liz's channels as well. You can get to any of those and the merchandise page in the video description below. All of the links are in there. So that is all for this week. Thank you for watching and for tuning in. Thank you for all of your questions. And please subscribe and click on the bell, ding, if you haven't already. And I will see you soon. Peace and love. Bye-bye for now.